Most of us in this room probably grew up in Louisiana, and we're familiar with Louisiana politics, and Huey Long is the name that's most often mentioned as the titan of our history, but he was only on the national and local scene, Louisiana scene, for 7 years. This man has been around for a half century, at least, more than that actually. He was asked once who the most prominent politician in the 20th century in Louisiana was, and your answer was?
Well, I see him every day when I look in the mirror.
And that is true. I think even his most fervent critics would acknowledge that Edwin Edwards has dominated the scene in this state like nobody else, and there have been few governors in any state to have the impact on our state as Edwin Edwards has. And Larry King did interview you a few weeks ago, and one of the questions he asked that I think might be worth repeating is that you could have been a national figure, but you chose to make this your hub. Why did you not run for president like some Louisiana governors?
Well, Louisiana can take it, but I didn't think the country was ready for a Cajun accent. And so I decided to stick where I could handle things better. Seriously, back in years ago, when Teddy Kennedy was thinking about running for president, he and I had talked about running together. I was going to be the vice president, but his tragedy, of course, shortchanged those plans. We even had bumper stickers that said Teddy and Eddie, but we weren't ready.
That must have been, Chappaquiddick was in 1969.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So you knew them all, though. You were in during the Johnson and Nixon years. You met some major players on the national scene, but you opted to run for governor in 1971, and you were not the favorite by any means. What happened in that particular campaign?
There were 21 people running in the Democratic primary, and I came out first, Bennett Johnson second. And then in those days, the Republican Party was a party that met in a phone booth to have a convention, and Dave Trina, who later became a good friend of mine, was the nominee, and I beat Bennett Johnson in a very narrow second election, and then went on to face Dave Trina in 1972. And then, of course, I ran against him again in 1983 and won again. Not an indictment of his incapacity or being unable to handle it. It was more a testimony of my ability.
Well, long before David Trina, you were on this campus. He was born in Baton Rouge, went to Tulane. You were born in Boyles Parish, right? And came to LSU and graduated here at the age of 21
Right.
in law school.
Right.
Do you remember your first trip to this campus?
To this campus?
Yes.
Yes, I hitchhiked into town. True story. My mother and father were rural sharecroppers, relatively poor people. My mother had a 7th grade education. My father a 3rd grade education. And frankly, when I told him that I was going to go to LSU, my father did not know where it was. And I hitchhiked into Baton Rouge after I made arrangements to come, and while I was here, I had 3 jobs. I worked in the library, I worked in the university laundry, and I also worked in the post office. And I used to get up at 4 o'clock every morning to go deliver mail, and I remember 2 things. Every day when my feet would hit the floor, I'd say, someday I'm going to be a rich lawyer and I'm not getting up early anymore. And then I would go to the cafeteria after I delivered the mail, and I had enough money to buy 1 donut and a cup of coffee for 15 cents. And I'd pass the scrambled eggs and grits and bacon, but that cost 25 cents. And I'd say, someday I'm going to be rich enough to eat all the scrambled eggs and grits that I want. And when I got that way, I couldn't do it because of my health. That's life.
Did you go to the football games when you were a student?
I hate to confess this, but we had a student pass, which I sold to somebody else. And I spent the time parking cars. That's a true story. Because I needed the money. And I would always flag somebody who was from Marksville to ride back to Marksville after the game. So it was part of my conniving abilities to see about taking care of myself when I didn't have much to work with.
Well, you graduated from high school, I guess, in summer or spring of 45.
In 44.
44, okay. So you were 16.
Right, but we only had 11 grades then.
That's still pushing.
But still, you know, I went to school in a one-room schoolhouse for 4 grades. No electricity, no running water, outdoor privy. The teacher had a line of students here, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. I had to listen to everything 4 times before I got out, and I guess that's why I finally learned something. Matter of fact, I used to say, well, when I get out, I'm gonna get me an RV and I'm gonna travel to the west, because I love to travel. But I haven't yet done it. I moved to a golfing community so I could play golf. I played 1 time in 3 years. And I have been so busy that sometimes I feel like going back to prison so I can rest. But I'm not gonna do it.
But you did get the RV, right?
I did, I finally got it.
How did you get it?
He tricked me on that one.
Oh.
I got outsmarted.
How so?
Well, she told me month after month that she was not gonna have an RV. She don't like RV, she don't want an RV, and not so, and of course, I dream about that. Like some women dream about certain things they wanna buy but can't afford. And one day I was at the computer looking at a list of RVs, and she said, if you're really serious about that and you really wanna buy an RV, go ahead and do it. So
I was calling his bluff because I was trying to be a supportive wife.
and
I did not realize he was going to go and bid on
And
one on eBay.
I didn't know that if you bid on eBay, you can't withdraw your bid. And as luck would have it, nobody outbid me. So I ended up,
Nobody bids on an RV on eBay except for you.